All right, everyone. So in this video, I'm going to discuss how you actually share out content so that others who are using Adapt can access that content. And then also I'll show you how to import content that other people have shared out so that you can bring it into your Adapt account. So first and foremost, if you want to share content out for others to benefit from, you can do it a couple of ways. First of all, you can share content out at the course level, and doing this will allow others to bring in that course shell along with all of the assessment shells into their Adapt account. And if the assessments contained in that course also contain publicly available questions, then those questions will also come along with. So sharing out a public course with public questions is a great way to have basically a complete package if you have multiple assessments worth of content that you want to bring in or you want to share out for others and then allow them to bring in to their own Adapt accounts. So to set a course as a public course, all you would do is either during the course creation process or for an existing course, you can go into the settings here. And if I scroll down, you'll see the option to set public to yes. So if you set that to yes, that will then list this course in the public library where others who use Adapt can then import that course. So that's the first place where we can set content to share out to others. Now, the other place where we can share out content is when we go down to the question level. So I could do this by going to the My Questions area. Alternatively, if I know an assessment contains a question I want to share out, I could just go to that assessment. And then if I go and look at a particular question that I want to share, I could hit the little pencil icon to edit that question. I can scroll down, and where it says public, I can set that to a yes. And that will make this question publicly available. I should mention that a course, sharing out questions does not require that they also be connected to a public course. In fact, you could have questions that are not attached to any assessment or any course. They're just part of your question library, but you can still share them out. So you basically have the option of, do you want to share out an entire course's worth of information, or do you want to just share out individual questions? Those are both options that are available. And I'll also mention that when you go to import content, you could import an entire course. You could import individual questions. You could also import individual assessments as long as they're part of a public course. And if you want the questions that that assessment contains, you would want to also ensure that the questions it contains are set to public as well. So a number of options there for how you share stuff out. Now, let's assume that we've got a publicly shared question here. And actually, I'll go back and also make sure that the course itself is public as well, just to show you the different options we have. Okay, so now both the course and, in this case, there's only one question in one assessment, but I've also set that to public. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to an entirely different Adapt account so you can see. So let's pretend for a moment that the course or the account that I'm in here is like an account that one of my colleagues is using. I want to take some of the information that they've shared out and bring it in so that I can use it in my Adapt account. So that's what we're going to take a look at here. So I'm going to log out of here, and I'm going to switch over to this account. All right, so now I'm in a different account, and what I'm going to do now is, well, I'll show you a few ways that we can bring content in. So first, I could click on the Import Course button. Then if I know either the author's name or if I know the name of the course itself, I could go here and just tell Adapt which course I want to bring in. So in this case, I could choose AI Course Examples, Dominic Slawson, and say yes, import. If I choose that option, you'll see that it brings that course in. All of the course settings that that course had come with it. So all of that is in there. I can go into that course. Here is the assessment that that course contains. I can go into the assessment, and here is the question that is within that assessment. So that's one way I could do it. Now, it's important to bear in mind that when you import content through ways like I just showed you, this course belongs to me, belongs to the person who imported it, meaning I can now edit this course and do what I want with it. It belongs to me. Same thing with this assessment. This assessment belongs to the person who imports it. It's a copy, and you can do what you want with it. However, the question within this assessment is actually not a duplicate question. It is connected to the same question that the original author made. And so I actually can't edit this question. You'll see if I hit the pencil, it says you cannot edit this question since you did not create it. Okay, so generally speaking, when you import content in Adapt, the individual questions retain ownership of that original author. And if that original author were to edit the question, those edits would show up in this question that I have here because it is the same question. They're one and the same. One thing I will point out, though, is that if I have imported a question that someone else has authored, if that author attempts to delete that question, it actually will not allow them to do so. Basically, the system says, hey, at least one or more people are using this question, so we can't let you delete it. Now, that said, they can edit the question, but they can't delete it. So that's one important thing to keep in mind. Now, there is a way that you can actually duplicate a question so that now you have full ownership over an original copy of that question. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But I also want to show you the other ways that you can import content. So I just showed you how to import an entire course. Now, if I go into a course, I'll go into the Sandbox course here. Let's say that I want to import just an assessment, not an entire course. We can do that by going into a course and selecting Import Assignment. From here, we'll go and select All Public Courses. We will choose a course. This is the same menu we saw earlier where I can say the AI Course Examples. And now I will choose AI Quiz. You can see it'll give me this option to import the properties and questions or just the properties. I want to bring in both the properties, that means, you know, the settings of the assessment, and I want to bring in that question. It contains one question. I want that too. So I'll click Yes, Import. And now we have effectively done the same thing that we did earlier, except now instead of an entire course, we just brought in a single assessment. Okay, so here's the assessment. The assessment belongs to me, the importer, and it contains that question. But once again, this question does not belong to me. It belongs to the original author. I am not able to edit this question. Okay, so that's how you bring in assessments. Finally, if you are in an assessment and you want to import a question, once again, just like we were doing, I can click on Add Questions up here at the top. Then I can go and indicate the source. I'll say all public courses. And from here, it's basically the same thing that we've seen already. I can indicate the course. Here's the question. I actually already have this question in this assessment. So that's why the plus symbol is not here. It's a minus symbol because it's saying, hey, you already have this question in your assessment. Okay. Now, having shown you all of that, let's say that I like this question, but I want to remix it. I want to change it and do some different stuff with it. And I can't edit it right now. So how do I go about duplicating it? Well, we can do that a couple of ways. So here I've already imported it. I can go over to this option right here. It says clone bow tie question congestive heart failure. If I click on that, it'll say, okay, clone the question to, I indicate a folder where I want the cloned question to go to. You can see it generates a folder called clone questions. You can also, if you want, also indicate a particular assessment that you would like to add the question to. That's optional. You don't have to do that. You could just leave this without a choice. But if I do this and I hit clone, now I have created my own copy of that question. And what I can do is, now that I have created my own copy, I'll go up here to add questions. And this time I'm going to choose my questions. And if I go down to the clone question folder, you can see here is that copy that I just made for myself. So I could click on the plus symbol. So now I've added it to that assessment. I'll go back. Oops. Let me go back. There we go. And you can see that now I've got this first one here. This is the one that doesn't belong to me. I click edit and still won't let me. But now I've got this one. This one does belong to me. I can click on edit, and now I can manipulate this question as much as I want. Okay. So those are the basic options. Oh, sorry. I should also show you another way that you could duplicate instead of going in through an assessment. I could also go up here to the dashboard. I'll click on search questions. You can use whatever search parameters you want to find the question that you're interested in. I'll just search my name. Okay. So here are some questions that I have shared out. And if I want to duplicate one of these so that I have my own copy that I can edit, let's say I want this one, I can click on that question, and then you'll see that once again we do get that clone option. I click that and I get that same menu to clone that question in. So the decision on whether you should just import questions that belong to someone else, or should you clone questions so that now you're the owner of that clone, it really comes down to how do you plan to use the question. If you think that the question that's there is good and you are not too concerned about the owner going in and changing a bunch of stuff that you will not like, then you could just leave it as is and just import it. That kind of makes your life easier. But if you either want to remix that question and change things about it that will not affect other people, or if you want to, if you have doubts that the original owner is going to upkeep it appropriately and you don't want them to go make edits that maybe you had wished they had not made those edits, then that's where you might want to actually clone it. That way you have your own version of it that will be completely under your control. So those are the basic options that you have in terms of both sharing content out for other people as well as importing content into your Adapt account.